Hey everybody, how wonderful, wonderful to see you today. It's a beautiful day here in Northern Illinois. Before everybody showed up, I was watching a little chipmunk run around behind me. It's nice that I get so simple entertainment, right? So if you don't know who I am, hi Ronnie, great to see you. If you don't know who I am, I'm Rita Hickman, and I'm a body-mind expert, a shiatsu massage therapist. I'm an Asian medicine energy worker, and I'm an intuitive master healer. And Wanda's here too. How great, Wanda! Thanks for coming today. So it looks a little bit today like a watercolor painting, because of how the sky is and it's all a little bit faded. And I just love how nature brings up all these different aspects, how it can totally change how things look. And that's kind of the point that we're going to be covering today. So all week we're talking about listening. Hi, Pam, great to see you. All week we're talking about listening, and Yvonne's here too, fabulous. And because, if you were like me, you were raised in a family where you were taught to be a good woman, and that were a good girl, and that meant sit down, shut up, and stay out of the way. Now, if you were also like me, which some of you were and some of you weren't, the internal stress got to be so big that I had no choice but to talk all the time because I had so much that I needed to say, and I needed to find a way to express it. Hi, Mary Jane. I'm so glad you're here. I had to find a way to express how I felt in a way that I was okay with, that wasn't angry, that wasn't mean, and also communicated. And so I didn't have a really good role model for how to communicate clearly. And I was asking my mom the other day, because I still struggle with communication, and talking about this, listening and talking this whole week, of course, gets me really self-reflecting on it again. And I was talking to my mom and I asked her, and I said, so why do people treat each other as if they're stupid and unimportant? Why do people treat each other like that? And she said, well, it's personality. I said, really? So the people that we care about the most, they treat us that way because of personality? And she said, yes, it's given her a lot of peace to accept the fact that there are all these different personalities. Now, although it's kind of hard for me to embrace that, because to me it's like, wait a second, just because your personality means that you have to treat me badly, that seems so unfair, that you have to be insensitive or thoughtless. That seems wrong. That well, that's just their personality, that's just the way that they are. So over the years I've really dug into this and looked at how communicating, especially with the people that we love, how that really works. And one of the things I came across probably about a year and a half, 2 years ago, was a little test. And, I don't know how many questions it was, but it would tell you whether you were, which parts of your psyche were connected to which sorts of senses. So most people, as you should probably know, are visual. And what that means is they consciously engage with the world through what they see. That's how they interpret the world, through what they see. Now, I always had a hard time because I am not a visual person, and like 80% of the population is visual. I'm kinesthetic, which means that I'm some weird outlier that my conscious mind interacts with the world. Hi, Geneva, great to see you. My conscious mind, what I'm aware of, interacts with the world by how it feels, by how my skin feels or my stomach feels or my throat feels. So I'm kinesthetic. But what this little test also did is it would tell you what your subconscious worked on and what your unconscious worked on. So for me, my subconscious worked on visual. So things that I would see would go directly into my subconscious mind and direct, hey, Sue, nice to see you. Things in my subconscious mind things that I would see would go directly into my subconscious mind. And that would determine, all these beliefs and ideas. Hi, Gail, because in our subconscious is where we hold the patterns of how the world works. And so what I would see out there, told me, that's how I decided what my beliefs were. And then on my unconscious mind, what I heard would go directly into my unconscious mind, which meant that music or meditations, things that I would hear would directly affect my physical self, my heart rate, my stress level, my back pain. So things that I would hear would affect me on an unconscious level. Now, everybody's different. They all have their own mix of kinesthetic, visual, and auditory. So, when we try to communicate with people, generally, hey, Kathy, good to see you. Generally, we try to communicate on one level. Maybe we talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and say, well, they're just not listening to me. Well, it's very possible that consciously they're only aware of what they're seeing. They're not aware at all of what you're saying, because that might be going into their subconscious or their unconscious mind where they're not aware of. So a friend of mine taught me something a long time ago, and he used to say, hang on, there we go. He used to say, you have to wait for the door to open. As in, you have something that you want to communicate, and you wait and you watch and you feel the energy around you, and a door will always open. And that helped me a lot when I had something that was burning in my heart and in my mind that I had to say, that I needed to say to somebody that I loved. Typically I would just say it when my stress level got out of control. Fine, I'm going to say what I need to say. And it was almost always bad timing, because they weren't ready to hear me. They were in a different space. I didn't create a good set and setting for wanting to talk to them and say what I needed to say. And so I would communicate only when I was so stressed out that I felt I had no choice. Whereas instead, if you wait and watch for a door to open, then that's an excellent time and an excellent way to finally communicate what you're saying. But what about this whole conscious, subconscious, unconscious thing I've been talking about? Here's the trick. You need to communicate with people in multiple ways. Because if they're only aware of what you're saying on one of the levels, then only a third of their psyche, only a third of their consciousness is really aware of what you're saying, and it doesn't make much of an impact because we've got so much going on, video games and television, things that we're seeing and hearing and feeling, from everything else. And so when you are communicating something and they're distracted and they're only listening, they're not present or open, or they're distracted by something they feel like a backache or a headache, that's a terrible time to communicate something. So you want to make sure that you communicate to all their different levels on a physical way, in a verbal way, and in a sight way, so that all parts of them hear what you're saying. Now, you're probably also saying, yes, but I've been doing that for a while. I communicate, I've tried this and I've tried that and I've tried the other thing. Here's the next trick. When we hear something, all right, for the first time, it's able to sneak past our conscious mind and really plant itself into our psyche. It plants itself like a seed, but it has to be novel and it has to be unique and it has to take us by surprise. Okay? So many times, if you have said something 1,000 times, people stopped hearing you after the first or second time that you've been saying it, because their conscious mind naturally blocks it and keeps them from hearing fully everything that you have to say. So if you want to make a point, the best way to get something important across is to communicate it in a surprising and interesting way, like 7 to 11 times. It's right, 7 to 11 times at least. And it might have even gone up more over time because we have so many distractions. Lately, they're saying 15 to 30 times is the amount of times you need to communicate something. So you may be saying to yourself, I've been communicating the same thing for the last 20 years and they haven't heard what I've been saying. I'm going to bring in an example from a friend of mine who I believe is also on this live stream this morning. And she told me about how she helped one of her children learn how to fold their clothes and take care of their clothes. Do the dishes, I think, by putting all the dirty dishes in the middle of their bed. That is a surprising and unexpected way that she got her point across. Do you see what I mean? We need to get past the judgmentalisms of being nice and actually work with the system. What do people actually hear? And what they hear, if they love you, if you chose well with someone who, has a small amount of humanity and cares about you, then you have to trust that they do want to hear what you have to say, which means that you have to put down the anger and the resentment and say, how do I work the system? So you work the system in a couple ways. One, you decide that how am I going to express this point in a number of novel and interesting ways so that it gets past the conscious mind and integrates more with the self. And then you ask yourself, how can I make this point in a way that is visual? Maybe one time I do it visually, one time I do it kinesthetically, felt sense, and one time I do it, through something that they listen. How can I make this point in a wide variety of sensory ways? So you need to do that as well. And then the third thing is you wait for the right opportunity. You wait for the right time to say just the right thing, or for the right time to do just the right thing. You look for the timing. So good communication, it starts with trusting that you have good, that you're not an idiot, that you chose to communicate and be vulnerable with someone who has the ability and the desire to actually care about you. So you need to trust in yourself first and say, you know what, I'm not an idiot. I chose somebody well. This is a situation where they can't hear me for a number of reasons. And that's when you start to follow your three rules. You come up with a plan of action. Okay, how am I going to communicate this point in a wide variety of novel ways, which are sensory, auditory, and visual? And then you sit back and you wait, because the times will always show up. They will always not do the dishes again. They will always not hear what you're saying. They will always drop the ball in the same areas again and again and again. So you don't have to worry. Hi, Stephanie, good to see you. You don't have to worry if you miss an opportunity. Instead, you say, you know what, that was a good opportunity. This is how I'm going to handle it next time. When you come at communication, instead of from an emotional point of view, from a point of view of I'm going to hold it in and restrain it and stuff it down, because I'm supposed to be a nice person, or I'm supposed to do it this way or that way. If you look at communication until you're at your breaking point, until you're ready to walk out, that many times is the first time they can hear you, because it's the first time you've chosen to communicate in a way that's multisensory. You are actually physically leaving. You are actually saying you are physically leaving. They actually see you physically leaving. This is happening. This is an experience now on a multi-dimensional level, and you have their attention. So, but maybe you can only leave once. The next time you make your point, you need to make it in another way that's novel, unique, and unexpected. That's the only way it gets past the conscious mind. So if you need to or want to communicate something important to you, and you want the person you care about or love to hear you because it matters, if you follow those three tricks, first of all, as I said, trust in yourself that you chose somebody who's halfway decent, and then come up with a plan of action, make it kinesthetic, visual, and auditory, come up with a wide variety of ways that you can do it. And in marketing, they say, the last time you market something, when you're just about ready to give up, that's when it actually works. That's because psychologically, we need that 7 to 11, or it may be up to even 15 to 33 if there's a lot of distractions going on, if there's a lot of balls that are being juggled, because they just don't have the ability to pay attention. We have a finite amount of attention we can give, and the more we're distracted, the more things need to be reinforced in a novel and unique way, okay? And then just wait for the door to open for yes, this is the time I'm going to do this. I planned for it, and this is how I'm going to handle it. All right, so those are my tips today for how to get someone you love to hear you before you completely strangle them in the middle of the night because you're sick and tired of all of their garbage and the fact that they're not listening to you at all and you're frustrated and aggravated and, pretty much ready to walk out. Try this first. Work on it, polish it, practice it, and you'll get a lot better at it. Nice to see you, Kate Ann. You showed up just right at the very end. So I'm glad you were all here today. I will see you again tomorrow. I'm excited about the rest of the week. And yeah, I think that's it. Thanks for being here and being part of the conversation. Talk to you later. Bye. Ooh, come on. Come on, baby. Well, this looks like it won't quite finish yet. It's thinking. It will finish when it finishes. In the meantime, I suppose I should entertain people. When I entertain myself, I typically sing the song, "Hello, my baby, hello, my darling."